Hello and welcome to the show. A new expansion for GTA 5 means more cars for me to throw down the side of Mount Chiliad, starting today with the Bestia GTS. As ever, I have stuck as many of the custom parts on the car as I can. I think this one does actually look really rather fantastic. It's Ferrari FF-esque. I actually think this looks a little bit better than the FF. Yeah, I really do quite like this car. As we would set off on our way down Chiliad, things would start off pretty well. The car would deal with the off-road nature of this course remarkably well, no problems going through the narrow opening section. However, the custom front splitter would prove to be a little bit problematic, as when we go over the first of the jumps, I didn't quite get the nose up in time for the landing. It bounced off the floor, lifted the front of the car up, we ran along a cliff and, ended up plummeting our way down here. Brakes are good, so when I did get all four wheels back on the ground, we could get it stopped very, very quickly and not go all the way down Chiliad. However, yeah, had to watch out, and that was kind of reinforced as I tried to avoid the hikers and running a little bit wide, the splitter again getting caught on the floor. Now, I have seen the odd car have problems, not very often though, have we had issues at that particular, or of that manner at that section. Now, one area that I was having more problems with, there's only been the last few episodes I've been having issues, running a little bit wide. I think I'm just carrying more speed down that section and having a crash before you ever get to the jump. Curse of the hikers, well, that was back in full effect. Knowing that I can't run wide down that section because of the splitter, I was having to plough through them, and yeah, immediately get punished by turning in a little bit too soon. Despite this car being rear-wheel drive, it's still perfectly capable of climbing back up the course. This particular turn was proving to be a little bit problematic. Having turned in too soon on the previous run, I tried a slightly different line. That one definitely didn't work. That was not a particularly spectacular way to go, yes, but not the greatest line through that particular corner. The Coyotes, they were being a pain as well. I've seen this a few times as well from the lower sports cars. If you catch them at an awkward point of that turn, they get stuck under the front of the car, lifts the front of the vehicle up, and then you can't turn and go straight on. However, it didn't take too long to get a clean run out of this car. As I said at the start, I do really like this car. I think it looks fantastic. Unfortunately, sorry hikers, but had to go straight through them there. They maybe cost a tiny bit of speed. I would avoid them if I could, but yeah, don't have any option in this car as we chuck it downhill. Despite it being a rear-wheel drive vehicle, it was really rather forgiving. You can absolutely throw this car through the corners. For a while, I did think that this was all-wheel drive. I didn't have any major issues with the vehicle. With the bumps, it doesn't flick the car sideways. You can see there just the tiniest of movement, but it's certainly nothing to be concerned about and didn't cause any issues. This jump didn't cause any problems, which surprises me with that relatively low front splitter having been problematic elsewhere. The fact that this landed that every single time was reassuring. This time making sure to get it slowed down for the second of the big jumps, and then we find ourselves going down the little side road towards an incredibly bumpy second to last corner. Do get things a little bit wrong. I braked a tiny bit too late. Managed to get away with it though as we come around the final corner, launch the car across the line, actually get it all very neatly under control this time out. Brakes were, yeah, impressive on this particular vehicle. No problems getting it slowed down after completing that jump, and managed to save it without falling off of the edge. Yeah, the front splitter a little bit low to the ground. However, this vehicle pretty damn solid getting down Chiliad. Up next, we have got the Reaper. Absolutely fantastic name for a supercar. Not my favourite looking of the vehicles. This kind of a combination of a Hurricane and the new NSX. It's not a bad looking car. I personally much prefer the Vaca, which is the other Lamborghini based vehicle. I think it just looks a little bit better than this one, but yeah, still, you know, not a bad vehicle. About the only thing you can do to this, I think, is the rear wing. So naturally, I had to put on a relatively mighty wing, not the largest, but still. Opening run, and I may have got a little bit carried away trying to take more speed than I should through the relatively narrow opening section. often sports cars, supercars that are as fast as these, it's very easy to get things a little bit wrong. And again, trying to put the power down too soon, trying to carry more speed that I can get away with. You don't often end up out in that part of the course. Found another bump to have some issues with. Another car that was very, very chuckable. You could have lots of fun throwing this through the corners. However, the bushes were out to ruin the fun. Again, we have seen that particular section catch many a car, and all it has to do is just enough to turn the car to the right, and then you can't stop it in time, especially not with the speed that these things will often be going at. And it's going to go off the side of Chiliad. Almost got myself into a lot of trouble on the first section. I just about catch it in time. But as we've seen time and time again, going down Chiliad, you make a mistake in one corner, it might not necessarily be that corner that you have a big off, but it won't be long. Now this one was quite noticeably rear-wheel drive at a few of the bumpy sections. It was quite easy to lose the back end, and coming into turn one, again across some bumps, and we are pointing at an interesting angle towards the first corner. This time not spinning the car, getting it across the Coyote without issue. However, I'm not sure if I got caught by the bush there or I just spun it on its own. The bushes on the inside can sucker cars into crashes. I'm not quite sure on that one. Once more running wide and having the vehicle almost semi-roll before we even got to the jump. This is what I say, I've never really had a problem with running wide at that section until the last few episodes. I must be taking a slightly different line, and that is what is catching me out, because the hikers once more is... I tried to avoid them. I just clipped them, but it was enough to tip the back end of my car sideways as I was sort of partially in the air. I don't think I've ever had my car spun out by the hikers. And the Coyote once more was getting stuck under the front wheels. Another relatively low car, and while the front of this vehicle wasn't catching on the floor, it's still, if the Coyote gets wedged under there at the wrong point, lift the front of the car up, you lose steering, and that will be run over. Did take a little bit of time to get the hang of this vehicle. Again, much like with the Bestia, there wasn't any particularly massive problems, considering, you know, you've got a low-slung supercar going down a really rather rough off-road section. Decent speed, as you would imagine, decent speed from these cars. We're getting up towards 80 miles an hour, and that is the fastest you're going to get on this. I think the record we had of a Formula 1 car reached about 93 miles an hour down that section. You know, the ridiculously fast accelerating Formula 1 cars. I don't think anything's ever cracked 100 going down here. So getting 80 miles an hour is pretty good at that section. You did see the back end could get a little bit loose as you push the car as hard as I can down this course. Got to be careful, got to have perhaps a little lift just to make sure you've got it across these bumps safely. Still though, much like with the Bestia, very easy to throw this around the likes of the hairpins. No major issues down that jump, which was always nice, making sure to get the car turned enough. Still ran a little bit too much to the left, however, we didn't have a problem this time around. Again, another car wanted to go up on two wheels through that section as we fire it down towards the second to last corner. All of these vehicles, aside from the odd thing with this car, didn't have massive issues with the bushes. It wasn't a case of they sort of immediately stopped the vehicle going, so could get away with a little bit more as we cross the line and then go for a big roll with the car. Just about got away with the finish there. Yeah, another car, I quite like it. It's a good enough vehicle to drive, a good enough handling car, decent brakes as you would expect from a supercar. Personal preference, I would rather have the Vaca. The Vaca is also considerably cheaper than the Reaper, although Reaper is a very, very cool name. Our final vehicle, the FMJ, a combination of Aston Martin Vulcan and Ford GT, the new GT. Another fantastic looking vehicle. Had to have this one in orange. I love the exhausts are right next to the brake lights. An interesting way of exhaust position. Hikers were not having a particularly good day at that part of the course. This, you know, very much amongst the faster cars in this game, was hoping that it could set a really rather impressive time. Almost managed to roll the car off the Cougar. Wouldn't be the first time, but it is a relatively rare occurrence nevertheless. I carried way too much speed into this jump. I felt sure I was going to go flying off the course. Nope, the car has got, again, incredible brakes. When things start going wrong, yank on the brakes and it will get stopped, although probably not at that point in time. When all the wheels are in the air, yeah, going on the brakes is not really going to help a huge amount. Now, this is an absurdly steep piece of terrain, but still I can get the car back under control. Ridiculously steep piece of terrain, and it is, yeah, perfectly manageable. And it's nice to have one of these supercars, you know, proper high-end supercars that have got rear-wheel drive and still got a lot of grip, although you can get things wrong. As I ran a bit wide, ended up in some rocks. Now, as I said, the bushes down here hadn't caused massive problems. I've got to, you know, they didn't spin this car around. I just got things wrong coming in through the section. I think this was the only point that I ended up off the course down here. I carried too much speed into the downhill section. It is very, very steep at that point. And again, pushing my luck, running a little bit wide. And the hiker's fine. He's up. He's up. He can walk away or run away. It didn't take too long, actually, with this vehicle. Like all of the supercars today, was, yeah, remarkably, I can say well suited, but that can't be the wrong words for it. It dealt with the course very, very well. It didn't have any major issues. I could get away with running wide through that section to not have to plough through the hikers. And yeah, it could deal with everything that Mount Chiliad threw at it. Even though it is a very powerful car and very powerful rear-wheel drive vehicle, I had no real major problems with traction. Once more, you could throw it around the hairpin. Absolutely lovely through that section. Had no issue with any point with any of these cars, actually. I think getting through the hairpin. Did have to, again, make sure that you get the car slowed down. Could carry good speed. Like, again, bumping the rear of the car in the air is always a little bit scary. You're never quite sure whether it's going to come down, but no major sort of sliding issues with the FMJ as we head through the next turn. The car nice and planted, a little bit of airtime, not running too wide on this attempt across the final of the big jumps. A nice smooth landing, didn't even go up onto two wheels, carrying plenty of speed down here, managing to keep it on the road this time, which is always helpful. Can get things a little bit wrong. I'm just pushing the car a bit too hard and running too deep into the second to last quarter, but the brakes are good enough. Flat out around the final turn, and it's across the line for this car. Yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised at how well it dealt with this course, and despite being a very low-slung supercar, having the splitter at the front there, didn't get caught on the ground like the Bestia. I like it. I really do. I think it looks fantastic. As well, it is just something a little bit different. As I said at the start, nice to have a rear-wheel drive one, and I love the fire. I love the flamethrower you can do with this out of the back between the brake lights. It is on to the times now, and unsurprisingly, the FMJ does go towards the top of the table. 1:19.9. It will go faster than an aerial as in the Pagani Huayra. It does lose out to the Koenigsegg Regera. It does lose out to the T20 and the Alfa Romeo 4C. The Reaper, an impressive fast time as well from that, a 21.4. It is a fraction down on the Lamborghini Egoista, but yeah, I wasn't perhaps quite expecting the Reaper to go as fast as it did, so yeah, that was a very, very good time from that car. I mean, hell yeah, getting towards the 1:20s down here is really the very, very fastest of the supercars. A little further down, we find the Bestia GTS. It's the same time as the Cheetah and the Valira, all very crowded in that low 122. But the Reaper, just coming back to that, does beat the Audi DTM, the Scarabee, the Brawler. The Insurgent, though, is still quicker than that Bestia. The Insurgent is so fast down chiliad because it can just maintain speed over the bumps in the way that the supercars just can't. So, yeah, I really like them. While the Reaper is a little bit boring to look at, I think the Vaca is much better value for money, and as I said, I prefer the Vaca. The Reaper is still a very, very nice car to drive. All three of them, I think, are very good additions. They're very interesting additions to GTA 5. The FMJ does look absolutely crazy, and I do quite like that one. The Bestia is just sort of a nice, sleek shooting brake. They are quite expensive cars, but, well, the world of mods for PC, I don't have to worry about that. However, that is it for this video, guys. As ever, I'll put links to all of the mods in the description, so you can download them and have a go with them yourself. But that is it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.